guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be talking about brandy and taking a visit to one of South Africa's most prestigious distilleries, Van Ryn's. South Africa might be the land of brandy and coke, but the quality of the brandy I was about to taste at Van Ryn's in Stellenbosch would go to prove that the country is capable of making brandies just as well as the French make them in cognac. Established in 1845 by brandy innovator Jan van Ryn, the brand's first award was won in 1884, and Van Ryn's has been pumping out fine quality liquor ever since. And recently, the awards just seem to keep rolling in. They've won 7 International Wine and Spirit Competition Best Brandy Awards in the last 12 years, the Best Brandy Award at South Africa's prestigious Michelangelo Award this year, and many others. And to top it off, their 42-year-old brandy, which is South Africa's oldest brandy, was sold for 40,000 rand at this year's Nederburg auction. The current distillery was built in 1905 and modelled on a French chateau, a beautiful contrast against the backdrop of the Cape Winelands. Walking into the tasting room, you're greeted with the woody and sweet spice aroma of brandy, the smell of luxury. So, what makes Van Ryn's brandy so special? Well, all their brandies go through double distillation in potstills, which is exactly how brandy from cognac in France is made. You might think that this is nothing but an antique, but this 201-year-old French alembic is still in working order and is used for small, once-off batches of brandy. And I can only imagine the delicious aromas that come wafting out during the brandy making season that runs from February to June or July. To make brandy, you first need wine. Van Ryn sources wine that's been specially made for brandy production, which contains no sulfur. The base wine is added to the pot still and heated up to just below 100 degrees centigrade. The alcohol and flavor components evaporate and make their way along the pot still. The vapor is then cooled to a clear spirit that's about 30% in alcohol, and this is called low wine. The second round of distillation refines the spirit further and raises the alcohol to about 70%. After this, the brandy is transferred to barrels and matured for no less than 3 years. At bottling, ionized water is added to the brandy to bring the AVB down to 38 to 42%. The stainless steel tanks you see are used to store the low wine and the final product before it's sent off to the cellar for maturation. Van Ryn's also has an on-site cooperage where the 340-litre oak barrels used to mature the brandy are made by both man and machine. It takes one person about 8 hours to make an oak barrel by hand.
Okay, the wood that we use is French oak, and you need 28 to 32 of these pieces of wood to make a barrel. One piece of wood will cost you 100 rand, whole barrel, 12,000 rand. Okay, the first thing that a cooper must do is cut the angle in the wood to get the roundness of the barrel. And for that, we must use Cooper's head without measurements.
Not only do the coopers make the barrels, they make their own tools too. I was fascinated by how natural materials like oak and bulrush are still being used in the production of these barrels. After showing me the cellar, which smelled absolutely beautiful from the evaporating brandy, called the Angel's Share, Master Distiller Marlene took me to the Paradiso Room for a private brandy and chocolate tasting. The room was built out of leftover cement wine tanks. Pretty cool to be sitting where thousands of litres of wine once resided. Marlene has been at Van Ryn's since 2009. After studying winemaking and wine biotechnology at Stellenbosch University, Marlene realised she didn't actually want to be a winemaker, and so started working at whiskey distillery James Sedgwick. But she felt the calling of the grape once more and moved over to Van Ryn's to make brandy. And how many times have you won an awards since being here?
We've won the 12-year-old has won the world's best brandy trophy in 2012, both at the IAC and IWC. First ever brandy to win it in the same year at both international competitions. We've won it this year again at the IWC. We've won the Van Ryn's 20 has won the Michelangelo Brandy Award now. We've won the brandy producer at the Sawi Awards. So yeah, there's quite a few.
We tasted their 12-year-old, which has berry and coffee aromas. Then moved on to their 15-year-old, my personal favourite, which has citrus and a slightly savoury notes.
Again, this is totally different from the 12 because it's treated differently. It's in different barrels, it's in different maturation cellar, so you get the development of different flavours. So this is more citrus, spiciness, those type of characters. Okay. None of the berry flavours that you get in the 12.
Finishing off with their 20-year-old, which was as smooth as butter with a wonderful nutty taste. The colour of the brandy comes entirely from being matured in oak, and all the beautiful flavour components come from a combination of the wood and the grapes, nothing else. In South African brandy making, Chenin Blanc and Colombard are the most commonly used grapes, unlike in France, where they use Uni Blanc. Van Rijn sources its wine from the Orange River, Olifantsrivier, Paarl and the Brie de Kloof Valley. Thank you, Marlene, for such a wonderful tour of Van Rijn's. Your enthusiasm for brandy making, the beautiful setting of Van Rijn's, and, of course, the brandies have definitely changed my perception of South African brandy for the better.